stoppage time with RPG and my man, John motherfucking Buckets. Hey, Buckets. How you doing?
I am here, I guess, which is impressive for me considering that Bayern Munich, my beloved at the time of recording this, just got their asses kicked 4-1 by Barcelona, their first loss to Barcelona in almost a decade. So, Ian, the amount of text I got, the DMs I got, all these people saying, Buckets, ooh, Hansi Flick. I know, but I'm here and I'm happy. Let's just move on, okay?
Yeah, you think you're doing bad. I'm wondering how producer Jeff's doing right about now after leading by 2-0 and getting absolutely humiliated. And just a reminder for everybody out there, the live betting was sensational in the Champions League this past week. At halftime, when it was 2-0 up to Borussia Dortmund, it was plus 430 on the money line for Real Madrid to come back and win that game. Plus 135, double chance for Real Madrid to come back and get a draw or a victory in that game. So there's money to be made on the live betting. But Buckets, we don't have any time for chat shit. Today, it's all about the bets. You ready to rock and roll?
Let's get into it, baby.
All right, we got a rapid fire betting show for everybody out there, including you, Eric Gunnarsson. This show is just for you. Welcome back to Buckets. It's the big time. It wouldn't be a show of stoppage time without bets from our betting expert, John Bucketsheimer, the betting unicorn, the blonde bombshell, the man who is no longer single, ladies. He's out there. He's hungry. He's looking for money, and he's looking for success today. I want 6 best bets for you, Buckets. The rule is I get to choose all the bets. Of course, I give you a heads up as to what those bets and those games were going to be on each individual day over the weekend, because this weekend there were some cracking games to look forward to. So Buckets, I understood you were going to go and make your bet, but I do not know what those bets are, so I'm pretty excited to find out. The loyal listeners expect, and I want to begin with what's happening on Friday. Multiple games to take place, obviously, in Germany and Spain and France. All the domestic games are taking place, but I'm turning to the big one in Major League Soccer. It is, of course, the Messi game. Into Miami against Atlanta United. Buckets, it's late kickoff on Friday evening. I'm intrigued to see where you're going on Friday's game.
I'm glad you're intrigued because I'm intrigued as well, because this is a pain in the ass to bet this game, man. The lines are just so difficult right now. Do you want to bet Messi to score? Okay, minus 220 on MGM. Do you want to bet Suarez to score? Awesome, minus 165 on MGM. Miami to score 2 or more goals, minus 300. Both teams to score, minus 200. The books, and I think this game is going to be an absolute boom, 1-2 knockout with goals galore. And the only way that I can find value in a game like this is by doing a parlay, Ian. I had the same game parlay this one to get that line down to a playable line. I'm taking Lionel Messi to score, topped with Miami on the money line here. It is called a win cast wager. I'm taking him to score and Miami to win. I have no idea what's going to happen in this game. They just won 6-2 against New England Revolution. I don't think we'll see 8 goals, but again, Atlanta's defense is not that good, but they're scoring goals. 4-1, 5-2, 3-1, 3-2. I think we're going to see both teams scoring. I think we see a lot of goals, but there is no way, Jeff, that this game is going to end without at least one Messi goal, and I might even ladder his goals, because this is the kind of game where Messi needs to prove that he's worth that $1 billion price tag, or 50 million, or whatever it is. I don't care. Messi's going to show up. Miami's going to win. We're going to cash the ticket.
Same game parlay. I love to see it. And of course, it's looking close to those plus numbers when you go even further than that. If you're looking for first goal scorer, it's plus 300 for Lionel Messi. Luis Suarez plus 370 for first goal scorer in that game. Anytime goal scorer, as Buckets pointed out, Lionel Messi might not necessarily be playable. But if you're looking at Luis Suarez, it's minus 125 for Luis Suarez. Anytime goal scorer. Don't forget, he had 20 regular season goals, the same number that Lionel Messi had. And then if you're looking for 2+ goals in that game, Messi sitting at plus 300 and Luis Suarez sitting at plus 400. Over 3 games. Don't forget that. It's not a one and done game in Major League Soccer. It's over 3 games. So for Atlanta United, there's a lot to be said about playing 11 players behind the ball and sitting back and defending, parking the Atlanta United bus. They were brilliant against Montreal and they deserve to go. And if I'm not mistaken, our very own producer Jeff was at that game in Montreal. So, maybe he can share some photos and maybe a little bit about his experience up there, because Montreal is a brilliant city, even though their team were pretty shit on the day. Buckets, that is it for Friday. But let's go to Saturday. We've got one best bet for games on Saturday. There's games everywhere across the board. But the game I went for, Buckets, is an absolute banger. It's El Clásico. I'm turning my attention to the game at the Bernabeu. Real Madrid against Barcelona. It's a massive game, Buckets, because in La Liga right now, Barcelona are top of the table. They're flying high, top of the table. Guess who's second? Yes, that's right. It is Real Madrid. Real Madrid have won 7 games. Barcelona have won 9 games. So I'm intrigued to see where you're going on Saturday's game.
Ian, there is something in this industry called a recency bias. And what that means is we see a team do really well or really poorly. It affects how we want to bet them the next match. And I've got recency bias with this Barcelona side. I watch them just absolutely. I'm trying to think of a verb graphic enough to describe what they did to my poor Bayern Munich boys. Barcelona looks terrifying right now. Hansi Flick is doing a tremendous job with the squad. Robert Lewandowski is playing like he did at Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga, now in La Liga. He is scoring goals for fun. Rafinha, what the hell was that? Lamine Yamal, this team is just stacked right now. And I know, obviously, Real Madrid is stacked too. I could just list any of the starting 22 players in this matchup, and it is world-class talent all over the pitch. However, with that being said, I know that this is going to be Real Madrid at home. I know that this is El Clásico. I know that there's a lot going on. But the fact that Barcelona double chance, Barcelona to win or Barcelona to draw, is priced at minus 125, that frankly just doesn't sit right with me, and it doesn't make sense to me. I think worst case scenario, we get a tremendous 2-2 draw here. But Barcelona, top of La Liga, are too good, and they're too strategic minded, and they're riding too high right now on the Bayern Munich win to not figure out how to get at least a draw out of this matchup. We've talked, Ian, about how Real Madrid's kind of getting things together. They're figuring it out. Mbappe's looking good. But this is a matchup that just screams draw to me. So rather than play the draw, I'm going to give myself that safety net in case Barcelona just says, hey, fuck it, we're winning this one too.
The last time they won there was a 4-0 victory back in March 20th, 2022. They won by 4-0 on the score sheet that day was Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. He scored a couple of goals as, of course, a Borussia Dortmund legend right there. Interesting on a double chance there, Buckets, because I'm looking at the money line. And for me, if I'm looking at my futures as to who I had winning the top 5 European leagues, I had Real Madrid winning La Liga. And Barcelona's been a real surprise for me. So anytime I see plus numbers for a home team that I've got as a favorite to win the fucking league, I'm going to go that way. Plus 100 for Real Madrid on the money line at the Santiago Bernabeu. This is a point right now. Let's not forget the fact that Real Madrid have not yet lost a game in La Liga. They've won 7, they've drawn 3, they've not lost. And of course, Barcelona are top of the league for a reason. They've won 9 of their games and they've only lost 1 of their games. So I'm intrigued to see what happens here. Barcelona are doing well. They're scoring goals, but Real Madrid have got 4 clean sheets and Barcelona only have 2. So I think Real Madrid score, and I think Real Madrid win that game plus 100 on the money line. Plus numbers in this game is absolutely incredible. And real quickly, Buckets, Kylian Mbappe first goal scorers plus 360. If you're looking at Vinny Jr.'s plus 490, the legendary Robert Lewandowski plus 480 anytime. Let's turn our attention there. It's minus 110 for Kylian Mbappe. Lewandowski plus 125, Vinny Jr. plus 135. Games like this is where you can make a lot of money, but it's also a risky play. Where are you going on the goal scorers?
When I'm going on the goal scorers, I think I just have to go with Lewandowski right now because he is kind of, I know Rafinha just had that hat trick and it kind of shocked everyone, me included, but Lewandowski has been the guy who is consistently scoring, and his pair up, link up play there with Lamine Yamal. I'd look at Lamine Yamal to score or assist as well, because that is always plus odds for some reason. Those are the 2 guys I'm kind of keeping an eye out on.
Love to see it. There you have it. That is El Clásico from our guy, John Bucketimer. He is absolutely having it for double chance, and he is feeling Barcelona after they tore shreds into his Bayern Munich. Maybe it's a little bit of pain after that defeat. All right, let's turn our attention to Sunday, and we went big on Sunday, Buckets. There's going to be 3 games coming your way on Sunday to the loyal listeners. They demand, they expect, and they're looking for something pretty sexy from the earlier kickoff. It is the 12:30 Eastern on Sunday. It is Arsenal against Liverpool. Liverpool top of the table right now. Arne Slot creating history. I think he's won 11 out of 12 games since he's arrived at the club. No other coach in Liverpool's history has won 11 out of 12 games, their first 12 games, which is absolutely unbelievable. Against an Arsenal side that is third in the table. They've won 5. They've lost 1, obviously, most recently against Bournemouth. But at the same time, Buckets, there are multiple injuries now for the Gunners to deal with against almost a full-strength Liverpool side. Where are you going?
This is going to be a hot take, and the only people to get more mad at me than Real Madrid fans that watch this show are Arsenal fans. So I apologize in advance to the Arsenal fans, but right now, as Ian mentioned, you got too many injuries, and you're playing a Liverpool side that specifically on the road, Ian, 6 straight road wins in a row. They've looked incredible. Arne Slot is doing something that to me is very frustrating because Liverpool plays a bit defensive now, only 3 goals conceded in their 8 games, but they're still scoring goals. They're top of the table. and history favors Liverpool in this matchup. If you look at Liverpool, they're kind of not winning, but they're scoring constantly when they play this Arsenal side, which is how I was able to find not one, but two wagers on this one, Ian. I am taking Liverpool to score in the first half, priced at plus 110. And I'm also taking Liverpool to score in the second half, priced at minus 120. You could take Liverpool team total, but I kind of like giving myself a bit of a safety net. If Liverpool score in the first 45, which they are more than capable of doing against this kind of injured, broken Arsenal side, you're already finding a plus odds winner there with a chance to cash an additional unit in the second half. I think Liverpool win this one outright. I think the lines are frankly a little bit wrong here because it's Arsenal at home and we're giving Arsenal that little bit of bias that we do. But the injuries are just too much and Liverpool is too good for me right now to ignore this. I just watched Arsenal barely beat Shakhtar Donetsk in Champions League, Ian. This is a team that is not playing how they need to be playing if they want to win the league. Maybe they'll turn things on, but I just don't think they've got the defensive grit to stop Liverpool from scoring potentially multiple goals in this one.
Can you give us a score prediction on that game, Buckets, for people out there who like to place crazy wagers on the score prediction?
I think it's going to be 2-0 Liverpool. I don't think Arsenal score here.
It's interestingly enough that you say that because I'm looking at both teams to score across the board on this game. In 5 of the last 6 competitive games against one another, there has been both teams scoring. So now, obviously, with Arsenal's injuries, we've seen them defend so well. So I went to have a look and see what both teams to score was, and it's currently sitting at plus 126 as well, which is not a bad wager. Because if you think Arsenal and they go defensive, which we know they can do against Manchester City, defend, they're a masterclass sometimes when they defend, but they're minus some key defensive players. So Liverpool, you would expect, would score a goal. Now it's down to Arsenal. Can they score a goal? So both teams to score is currently sitting at plus 126, and that's where I'm leaning, Buckets, in that game. Score prediction from you is pretty interesting, but I've got no idea where that game's going to go. Let's go to Italy. It's Inter Milan against Juventus, 1 p.m. Eastern. Cracking game as well. Juventus are on a great run this season. They've won 4, they've drawn 4, they've lost 0 games in Serie A. And if I'm not mistaken, Buckets, I think they've only conceded 1 goal in Serie A this season, which is absolutely insane. But then they were taught a lesson by Stuttgart in the Champions League most recently. However, Inter Milan are second in the table. They've won 5, they've lost 1. They're scoring 2.12 goals per game. So it's one of the more dangerous offensive-minded teams and the champions of Italy. Inter Milan at home against Juventus and Thiago Motta. Where are you going, Buckets?
I'm going to a bet that's going to make you and me and Hot Cocoa and Jeff and all of the viewers very, very disappointed in me, Ian, because it's something that you've already touched on this game. It's not an under. I promise you it's not an under, but it's kind of an under. An under. That's the word. I'm taking both teams not to score in this one, man. It's how I have to bet this game. As you already mentioned, Juventus has played 8 games this season in Serie A play, and they've conceded once. Inter Milan is the only other team besides Juventus that is doing something similar outside of Napoli. They've only conceded 9 in their 8 matches. These are 2 very defensive-minded teams that historically in their head-to-head history, the 1-0s, the 2-0s, the 0-0s, the 1-1s, it's a very low-scoring matchup when you see these two sides play. This is just we talk about this in the soccer world sometime. When you have 2 incredible offenses, when you've got Lautaro Martinez, Dusan Vlahovic, you've got Marcus Thuram, you've got all these big names in the goal-scoring threat, a lot of times those games end up being kind of duds or just defensive-minded matches where you see both teams too scared to make the first error, so they end up playing defensive for 90 minutes. If this game ended 0-0 or 1-0 to Inter, I wouldn't be shocked, Ian, but I just don't think either team's going to make that effort to make the very aggressive play here, with a draw not being a bad result for either side.
Love to see that, Buckets. That is a very interesting result and obviously prediction, but at the same time, this is champions of Italy going up against Juventus, who are trying to somehow compete at the top of the table to get into a Champions League spot again. I want to remind everybody what happened against Stuttgart most recently in the Champions League for Juventus. They were favourites going into that game. Stuttgart, I think they were on a 5-game bounce where they hadn't won a game. They were not conceding, not scoring many goals. Listen to the statistics from that game. Stuttgart won the game by 1-0. They had a late goal in that game from Torre, 90 plus 2 minutes in the game. So stoppage time, of course, stepping up there. Stuttgart in that game against the Juventus side, as Buckets already pointed out, they're a bit more defensive-minded. Stuttgart had 22 shots in that game away from home at Juve. 22 shots and 10 of them on target. Buckets, in that game, Juve failed to score. Dusan Vlahovic was pretty shit as well. How many shots do you think that Juventus had on target in that game?
That Juventus had?
Yep.
Or that it was too many. I was on Juventus money line, so I'm going to say they had 6 shots on target.
one shot on target from Juventus throughout the whole game. They had 7 shots in the game. And that was it, against 22 for the away side. So I'm just wondering if Inter Milan are reading the script about what happened in this game tactically, how Stuttgart approached it, because they created so many chances. Stuttgart, they had 2 goals disallowed as well. Should have scored at the same time, maybe 3. However, I'm just looking at an anytime goal score play for this one because I think it could be a 1 or a 2 goal game here for Inter Milan. Lautaro Martinez, anytime goal score, plus 150. Buckets, your thoughts?
I absolutely love that because Lautaro Martinez rested for 70 minutes in their Champions League bout as well, which means he had to watch his team. They obviously did win, but not really do anything. So he's itching. He's too good of a player not to say, put me on, put me on, put me on. I love that look at plus 150.
We turn our attention now to a league that we don't normally cover on our show Stoppage Time because it's now the 78th top league in European football. We're going to the French Ligue 1, unfortunately. It is starting to be a bit more competitive because, Buckets, the French teams are doing well in the Champions League. And also, we got a bit of a battle at the top of the table in Ligue 1. Right now, PSG top of the table in first place on 20 points. They are tied with Monaco, who are undefeated on 20 points. Also, both teams have won 6 from 8 games. And in behind them is Marseille, under De Zerbi, 17 points, 3 points behind PSG. And guess what? This weekend, Marseille are at home to PSG. Le Classique, it is called. And in Buckets, I decided we're going to go that direction because I think this game deserves a lot of love. It's a game that should bring in some action. It's a game that should be explosive. The fans fucking hate each other. Where are you going?
The fans absolutely fucking hate each other, and I fucking hate betting on French teams. Sometimes it can be fun, but this is a tough one, Ian. What I looked at was a couple different angles here. First of all, recent head-to-head history. PSG has been smacking Marseille in this El Classique, I think is how you said it. PSG won Le Classique. PSG won 2-0, 4-0, and 3-0 in their last 3 bouts of this matchup. PSG has been the much stronger side. And what I really care about here is PSG should be pissed off right now. PSG just drew at home to PSV Eindhoven in Champions League, a match where they were 2.5 goal favorites, and they looked bad. They drew 1-1. They went down early. They were not the better team in that matchup, which means now you've got to take all that anger and all that frustration and you've got to redirect it at whoever the poor souls are you play next in Ligue 1, which happens to be a very talented Marseille side, a very good offensive Marseille side, but not the best defensive Marseille side. I think that we do see both teams score. I think we see, frankly, a lot of goals in this one, but I think more than anything, we see PSG get at least 2 goals here. PSG over 1.5 team total at minus 135. A little bit of juice there, but I don't mind playing that juice for a team that is averaging more than 3 goals per game domestically, that has Bradley Barcola, that has some of these really good goal scorers, because as we talked about, once Kylian Mbappe left, this team almost seemed better. They kind of seemed more unified. They had more spread in their play. They didn't need to feed the ball to one player. And this team is just doing really well now. I'm impressed with how they're doing. They can slip up. They can have bad games, but I'm just expecting a big response after that PSV draw.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because De Zerbi's come into Marseille and he's done a great job with the club. 7 matches in charge, 4 games that he's won. He's only got that 1 defeat on the season so far, obviously since he departed Brighton and Hove Albion, where he had a very successful time. He's brought some really good players who are performing well for him at Marseille. And Marseille are a dangerous, dangerous team. Obviously, Mason Greenwood's been a real injection of enthusiasm from him. We all know his controversial pass. He's been brilliant for them. 6 goals so far in the season. Obviously, the 1 assist as well. Luis Enrique with 4 goals. Amina Arit has been really standout performer. One of my favorite players. Former Schalke player, I think it was. He was playing in when me and producer Jeff were covering the Bundesliga. A couple of goals from him and 3 assists from him. So watch out for those players from Marseille. And I'm leaning a little bit towards Marseille here, Buckets. Not to win the game, but I'm leaning towards them just to have a bit of fun in this game and go for it. I don't think De Zerbi sits back and just plays defensive and expects PSG to obviously win this game easily. He's going to make this a bit of a battle. So I'm saying that Marseille, go for it in the first half. Try to get a halftime lead and give yourself an opportunity. We know that PSG can score 3 goals in one half. The game could be done at halftime. So maybe they switch off at halftime and Marseille come back into the game or something like that. Or maybe they just don't play well in the first half and then PSG step up in the second half. I've got Marseille to win either half, to just score more goals in the first half or more goals than PSG in the second half. Either of them works at plus 110. Just think that if they get 1 goal halftime lead, it's a completely different game and maybe we see PSG fight back. I just don't know. But I'm leaning towards Marseille doing something in this game just because it's their opportunity. They don't want to allow PSG to have a 6-point gap between them. If they win this game, it's equal on points. If they draw this game, they stay within 3 points. If they lose this game, it's a 6-point gap. I just don't see that happening. Even though I agree with you, PSG are dangerous. They should be the best team. The one to benefit this weekend should probably be Monaco, because obviously they're level on points with PSG. And if PSG don't win, then Monaco get a victory or a positive result, they'll be top of the table. So love that play, Buckets. And that is, of course, on Sunday at 3:45 p.m. Eastern. So everybody make sure you look forward to that one. Buckets, let's go to the game that's taking place on Monday. We're going back to Major League Soccer. It's a difficult one because the lines are not necessarily fair to us, especially since it's after the weekend. It's next Monday. Let's go back to the playoffs. And it is my beloved NYCFC who travel to Ohio to take on Cincinnati. Buckets, your thoughts in this game? Do you have any leans? Do you have any lines? What's your thoughts?
My thoughts on this game is a reminder to what Ian already said. This is a best of 3, but the one thing I want to point out here is just to be careful of that, be mindful of that here, because New York's, let me try that one again, NYCFC could, Ian, play a bit more defensive in this first matchup than knowing how good Cincy is at home, knowing how good the Cincy side has been all season. But the one lean I do want to give out is keep an eye on Luciano Acosta. If he is starting, I am betting him to do something. It might be shots, it might be goals, it might be assists, but I'm betting him to have some kind of goal contribution in some kind of way. Acosta has started 29 matches, 14 goals scored, 16 assists. He has 30 goal contributions on the season. He is the guy you want to keep an eye out for. Him alongside Kubo have just been fantastic for the front line there for Cincy. But again, we can't really bet on anything yet because there's no player props available. So my lean would be that this is going to be a very cagey, kind of slower first match, maybe a 1-0, maybe a 1-1 draw here, Ian. And I think that will kind of open up the second and potentially third match once we see how they play this first 90 minutes.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Obviously, my heart comes into play here, so I'm not going to give a bet out or even a lean. But at the same time, NYCFC played very well against them. Most recently in Major League Soccer, they won by 3-2 in that game. It was a late 96-minute goal to make it 3-2. So NYCFC pretty much dominated. Martinez was on the score sheet, and I know you're favoring him, Buckets, to be that anytime goal scorer for NYCFC. He's been on a great tear this campaign. But Cincinnati are a dangerous team, especially at home. If you look at the games at home they've played against NYCFC, 4-2, 1-0, 3-0, 1-0, 4-4, obviously back in 2022, which was a crazy result. And then it was in 2021, the last time the NYCFC actually won a game away there. So yeah, be very careful how you play this game. We're going to probably be active on social media around this game and the games that take place on Monday before we bring another episode of Stoppage Time out next week, because there's a full slate of games taking place in cup competitions next week during the week. So maybe on Monday we'll try to record another show, Buckets, and get it out for our people. And maybe we'll drop a short before that game takes place on Monday night. Rapid fire show of Stoppage Time for the loyal listeners. Buckets, your thoughts on these types of shows and what the listeners will be thinking about this type of show?
I'm a big fan of these type of shows. I know that the listeners do obviously crave the dating updates and things like that. Buckets love life. I think the bets are important. I think that sometimes, especially when we have congested weeks, we've got busy schedules. You and I have very busy schedules. It's good to just get a couple bets out, take care of the loyal listeners, and move on to the next one.
Yeah, appreciate you. Appreciate producer Jeff. Thank you for all the great work. And thank you to all the loyal listeners out there. Please make sure you go follow us on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Drop in a comment because we love the comments. I appreciate everyone out there who has already been jumping in the comments and making sure that they share their love for the show. If you can share the show as much as you possibly can as well, that would mean the world to myself and to Buckets as well as we continue to grow. We're almost at 3,000 subscribers, and that's where I'd like to get to at some point so we can continue to grow in the right direction for our show. Obviously, the numbers are how we're going to get picked up by a network or a firm or a sponsor where me and Buckets deserve to be, and we know producer Jeff wants to be there as well so that we can get him out of his fucking rocking chair at home and back in the production studio at some point soon. Would be lovely. We're also active on social media, Buckets. Where can everybody find you on your personal social media platforms? And Dub Club.
You can no longer find me on the dating apps, so I'm so sorry to tell everyone that, but you can still find me on Twitter, on Insta, on Dub Club, always at Bucket John Betts here. Find me here on YouTube, and like Ian said, just share the hell out of everything, guys. Let's go.
Yeah. Share the hell out of everything as well. Go follow Buckets all across his social media platforms. You can subscribe to him if you want extra plays on his Dub Club. I'm no longer active on Dub Club, Buckets. I'm taking a bit of a break. I can't keep up with you. You're just on a different fucking level. I don't have any time to be able to keep on putting these plays out because by the time I get around to looking at the plays or if I'm playing myself, I just don't have time to go and write it out and send it out to people. It's just, I don't know how you do it. You got too much fucking time on your hands to be able to do this. And I know it's a full-time job for you, but it's pretty impressive how you guys do it and you guys live live and breathe it. And I'm just not on that level. So I don't feel like it's fair to charge people any type of fucking subscription service for that. So once again, I will be focusing on stoppage time growing. And of course, you can catch me on CBS Sports Golazo Network on Scoreline at 5 p.m. pretty much every single night, and highlights across the board on the weekend as well. Buckets, great show. I appreciate you. Go everybody follow Stoppage Time on Instagram, on TikTok as well. Hot Coco's building as much as you possibly can. Producer Jeff is doing great jobs on the YouTube Shorts. We are getting some amazing numbers. I'm really impressed. And it doesn't happen without loyal listeners. Buckets, have a great time. Enjoy the bets. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. Bet responsibly. Most importantly, make sure you absolutely have it!